You need a Gmail account or a Google Plus account to access Blogger. Now I'm on the Blogger, I'm on Google now, and I'm signed in, and I can see myself over here. And if I click here, you can see it offers you the variety of tools that you get with your Gmail account. I know that you can come in, you can actually sort of sign up and get your Gmail account other ways, but all of these are now connected: YouTube, Google Plus, etc. And if you click here on more, you should find that one of the buttons says Blogger, and that's exactly where you want to go. And when you click into Blogger and you come into your Blogger site, you're not going to have what I'm going to have here at the top of the screen, because obviously I've got various blogs that I've created in the past. So you should really see this completely empty. But what you should see is the button New Blog, and that is important. Now you may sometimes have other windows open as well, and again this will be to do with other blogs that you follow, etc., and I'll come back and talk a little bit about that. But hopefully you should see a button there called New Blog at the top of your page, and that's where we're going to start, and we're going to click on that button in the next video and start straight away with our first video and our first blog. So let's click on New Blog, and basically all you have to do is give your blog a title. So I'm going to call mine Teacher Training Videos Blog, and the address is going to be the actual site address, the URL, and you don't want to use gaps in that, so I'm just going to call that Teacher Training Videos Blog, and it's telling me that's okay, that address is okay. It might be a bit of a long name for a blog, but for the one for today, that will do first. Fine. Now choose a template. I'm going to go for simple. Well, we can always update the template, so it really isn't something you should worry about at the moment. Just choose the simple template and click on Create Blog, and that is it. Your blog is now ready. That simple to create a new blog. And all we need to do now is to start add content to that particular blog, and there it is already. So now the blog is ready, and if we roll over here, it says create new post. So I always like this layout, because if you want to create a new post for any of your blogs, you can just simply click here and immediately will go to that blog. Of course, you will only have one blog at the moment. You can create as many blogs as you want. Let's add our first post by simply clicking on here, and if we click on here, it opens up the interface for working with Blogger, and we can more or less start straight away. Now you've got two views when you're working with Blogger, and most of the time you're just going to want to work in compose mode. There will be times when you want to go into HTML if you're, for example, going to embed something, and we'll come to that, but for now all you need to do is to click on compose mode. Now one important thing is to always give your blog post a title, and it's really worth thinking about these titles, because titles are part of the metadata and meta information about each particular blog that you write, and so try to give your title something relevant to whatever your particular topic is, because it will help for your blogs to be indexed on Google. So I'm going to do a blog post which is going to be using ICT to develop students' fluency in speaking. So a nice long clear title, it clearly explaining what this particular blog post is about. It's a good idea to really think carefully about the layout of your blog posts and try to make them all consistent. So let's say I'm going to put a title which is going to be why ICT can help develop speaking. So this isn't the title of my post, but it's like the first subtitle, and I'm going to then select that and choose from here. I've got either heading, subheading, minor heading, and that's a really nice way of working, and this of course is going to be the heading. And now I'm going to start writing underneath that. Now if I click here, it should just go back again to normal, and I can start to write my post. Now it may be that your post is already written and you're going to just paste it in, or it may be that you're going to start writing here. So I'm just going to quickly just sort of put a bit of text across the screen. So one way would be just to start adding your text onto the screen and writing your article. For example, this particular article is going to be about developing students' fluency, and I can just begin to write there. Now when I then want to add a subtitle, would come down again, and then for example this is a subtitle, so it's not one of the main titles, it's a subtitle of, and again select it on its own line, click on the drop down and then put that as a subheading, and then of course you would then carry on writing. Notice what happens as soon as you click back down another line, it comes to normal and off you go, and then you can start to be adding your next line of or next section of text, etc. So very easy for you to almost start immediately to add text to your screen. Again, move down, let's say we're going to have another subtitle. This is a second subtitle. Notice that I write it in first and then I select and choose the formatting that I want to use, and again as soon as I click down it will jump back to normal and allow me again to be writing. It's just something I've learned over time that's really good to think about the organization of your posts and the titling that you're going to use, and then to be really consistent with that titling in all your blog posts. Right, a lot more to do with this particular post before it's ready for publishing, but let's move on and just look at another option, which is to paste in the text from somewhere else. Okay, a couple of tips about cut and paste, and you'll often see this when you work with different blogging tools. Blogger allows this, and that is that you paste in and take all the formatting out. Now I'm just going to quickly go to an article that I've got here, and this is an article that I've written, and I'm going to copy that. So I'm just going to copy here, and then I'm going to come back to my blog, and let's just see what happens if I paste that in. And if I paste that in, as you can see, it's kind of formatted itself, and it's sort of gone with a large formatting size. Now what I'm going to do is just select all that paste, and then I'm going to click on this button here which says remove formatting. Take that all out, and therefore it now is kind of coming in, it starts to look a little bit similar to the rest of this blog. And of course what I would now do is select that title and then click again on subheading, and suddenly we've now copied and pasted in some extra content and tidied it up, made it look like the rest of the blog. So that's a very useful button. That is when you paste in from Word and you want to make sure that you haven't got any formatting, because it can really mess up your blog post. So let's imagine that this is our first blog post and we're happy with it. Is that everything? And the answer is no. Absolutely vital, and you'll see why a bit later, is to make sure that you label every blog post that you create, and that is going to help people to be able to find your blog posts, find related blog posts, and also going to allow them to be able to search for your blog posts not only by the date stamps but also by the labels that you create. So make sure you click on the labels button and add labels. Now this is the first post, so there are no labels that are being suggested to me, but I'm going to start by just writing speaking, and then a comma, and then fluency, and then another comma, and I'm going to write communication. So we're going to just have these three, and notice that I am using commas. Click on the done button, and we've now added those three labels to that particular blog post, and that is really important. Now we've got lots of buttons here on the right hand side that we can talk about, and we will come back and look at later on when it comes to publishing posts. But I do want to look at some of these buttons here at the top. The first one is publish, and if you click on that publish button, that particular blog post will be published and available to the world. If you just want to save it but you don't want to publish it, so in other words you're going to come back and do some work on it later, then click on the save button. And if you want to preview what it's actually going to look like, we'll click on this button here, which opens another window and will actually give you a preview of how that blog post is actually going to look on the page. Now you'll notice that it's got something called about me here, and there's information about me. Well, I'll come back to this because this is really what we call a plug-in or a widget that we've got here, and this widget is automatically part of the template. We can delete it if we don't want to have that, so we will come back and deal with widgets. Notice that when you go and preview that you're actually opening up an additional tab at the top of your page, so you can close that and come back. So you can either save or you can publish and you can preview. I'm going to publish this button, and when we come back and do some more blog posts, we'll look at some of these other ones. I just wanted to show you the simplest way to do your very first blog post, and really with what I've showed you, you could now click on the publish button, which is what we're going to do, and our first blog post has been published, and we can now see it in the overview of the Teacher Training Videos blog. We're looking at the posts, and we can see the first post has been added, and I can see clearly the 3 labels that I've used, and notice that each of those labels I began with a capital letter to make it all nice and clear and nicely formatted. So when you publish a blog post, you get taken to this page here. I just want to make it dead clear where we are. If you click on My Blogs, it will bring you back to the list of all the blogs that you have created. Remember, we've seen this page before. There it is. And if we click here on this particular blog, the one that we've just been making together, and come back to posts, it will bring us back to the page where our posts are, and there it is again. So this is a useful page because as you produce more and more blog posts, they will all appear here. One last thing about navigation before we get on to create another blog post, and that is if you click again on My Blogs, and you were to look at all your blog posts, you know that you've got a menu here, a drop down menu that takes you to all the different important pages, and we'll be dealing with a lot of these pages during this course. Now, if we also clicked here, for example, on Teacher Training Video, so we're going in specifically to that particular blog, then the same list is here on the left hand side. Oh, sorry about that. I'll just say no. The same list is here on the left hand side. So just to keep that in mind, My Blogs, and really that list is just this list here, and you can access this list from here, or you can click on the blog and it will appear on the left hand side. So that's just a little bit about navigation. 2 really important things are the posts and this button that always brings you back to your list of blogs. That's really, really important, and this button here is very useful because it gives you all the different possibilities for that particular blog, and the same for any of the other blogs that you've produced, depending whether or not depending obviously what rights you've got. This one here is a blog that's been shared with me, for example. Anyway, let's now move on to adding a second blog post to our Teacher Training Videos blog. So we can always add a new blog post by clicking here, or by going to the posts, and we'll just do that for now, and clicking here, and also we'll add a new post. Now we're going to give this second post a title, and more about fluency and research into taping students. Okay, and again I'm going to select that, and I'm going to add the heading there, and then I'm going to start to write my piece. And because I do it like this, it always goes back to normal, which is really useful. Okay, and this time though, what we're going to do is we're going to add a picture. So we're going to move here and then come down, and this time we're going to add a picture. So we're going to click on this button here, insert image. Now we've got lots of different ways that we can insert images. Let's start with the most obvious one, which is going to be choose a file and just grab a file from our own computer. So we'll do that and just come down to pictures and just add in an image from my computer. Click in here on some ones of me giving presentations, and let's just put this one in here, for example. Click on that, and then obviously wait till it uploads, and then click on add selected, and that picture will be added to the blog. Now we're not limited to have the image in the middle. If we click here, there are a few things that we can do just by clicking on the image. First of all, we can shift it to the left or shift it to the right. We can make it smaller or larger. You've got various sizes, or you can always set it to the original size. You can add caption etc, etc. So I'm going to shift this image to the left. So I do that and add to the left. I'm going to make it smaller, so I shift on that one there. Then I'm going to add a caption, Russell presenting in Turkey. And there we are, we've got our first image uploaded. Because of where that is, I'm just going to click here now and uncenter so that the cursor moves back again to the right. So we've now added an image into our second blog post. Now I want to show you a second way of adding an image, and for this particular one what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what they call the unique resource locator. Each image that's on the internet has its own unique resource locator, and what we can do is we'll just move the cursor down here, and then we're going to, let's again, for some reason it's shifting to the center point, I'm going to put it to the left. I'm going to click on the link button here, insert image button, sorry, the insert image button. And if I click here, I was on upload, if I click here it shows me all the images in the blog, and if I click here it says right in the unique resource locator. Every single image on the internet has a unique resource locator. That is where that image resides, and we can actually copy a unique resource locator, the URL, from another website, from an image on another website, paste it in here, and it will grab that image and reproduce the image on or in our blog. Now it's interesting, you're not actually downloading the image, you're not taking a physical copy, you're actually linking and reproducing the image on your website or on your blog through the code. So for example, if I went to Russell Stannard here and using my Google Chrome in this case, I right click and click on this one here, copy image URL. Now each browser works slightly differently. Come back again, paste in that unique resource locator and click on add selected, and it there appears on the screen. And I can even click on that and make it small to make sure that we got the same size image by doing that as well. So there we've seen how we can add an image using the unique resource locator. Of course it's vital that we add labels to all our posts, because that will help not only Blogger to find our posts and for users to find our posts within Blogger, but also simply because of the way that Blogger is picked up by Google. Click on labels and it will first of all show you any previous labels that you've used, and you can see that I've got 3 here, and if I wanted to use any of those I'll just click on them and that one will be added. And if I still wanted to add any more myself, for example in this particular case, let's imagine that we're going to add the one taping, and then I can add that and click on done. Remember, when you click on the publish button, the actual post is published. If you click on the save button, it's just saved for you to come back and add to at a later date, but it's not published on the internet. I'm going to publish it, so I click on that button and of course it brings me back to my posts page. I can clearly see my labels and I've now got 2 posts included. Okay, we're really moving now. Let's add another post, and we'll go straight from here. So we're on the posts page, that is that we're on the Teacher Training Videos blog, and we've got a list of our posts. We're going to add a new post. This is going to be our 3rd post. We'll give this one the title, and again we want to try to make sure developing fluency through stories. So we're kind of keeping on the same theme of speaking, etc, etc. How storytelling can help. Now what we want to do in this particular one, again we're going to first of all select that text and give it the heading title, because we want to keep this all nice and consistent so that all the blog posts look the same. And what we're going to do here is first of all add in again a little bit of text, and I will come and talk a little bit more about text in a second. So just add in a little bit of text onto the screen. Let's imagine now that we want to add in a video, and obviously Google links in really well with YouTube. I'm going to click here, and I really like the way that this works now. I'm going to grab from YouTube, and I'm going to click on from YouTube, and in fact I can just do a search here. So I'm going to put in, for example, Russell Stannard, and see if there's any stuff, and hopefully there might be something on me talking about simple technology tools that we can use, and there is. So I'm going to click on that, and that then it gives me a little bit of information, and I'm going to click on select, and that is now going to be embedded into my blog. And of course we can play it back again. Come to the labels, and I may want to use some of the ones I've already got speaking, but I'm going to add a new one here as well, which is going to be, so click on here, and I'm going to just write ICT tools. I'm going to write Vocaroo, because I know that I'm talking about that particular. And so now we've done another post, and this particular post isn't much of a post at the moment, and it's just actually a video that students can access. But you're getting the idea of just how easy it is to start to build up your blog and add images, etc., etc. And again, I'm just going to publish that. When you publish, remember, you're always taken to the posts page. Now, we haven't really viewed this blog yet, and that's what I want to do next, is just have a look at the blog and start to think a little bit about the layout of the blog and how we can kind of make it look a little bit nicer. Obviously, this is just a sort of introductory set of videos, so really I'm just very quickly touching over all the basics so that you can get up and working with Blogger. If ever you want to view your blog, just click here and you can then open up the page and actually look at see what the blog looks like. And what this particular blog is going to look like is it will always show the latest blog post, and if we scroll down we'll also see a previous blog post, and if we scroll down even further we'll see a previous blog post. So we've got 3 blog posts up on the screen already, and you'll see there's here opportunities to leave comments, etc., etc., and we're going to kind of start to have a look at some of these things. You'll notice also that we've got here a kind of archive, and this is by default. We didn't do anything, this seems to just appear. We've got this about me information, and we've got this other thing here which is a blog archive. Now by default your blog posts are always organized by title, and also they're date stamped as well, and it shows us that there are 3 blog posts in the month of October, and we can click and go to any of those particular blog post by simply click on it, and it will bring that post up onto the screen. And if I did the same here, now what about if we wanted to navigate in a different way? For example, what about all those lovely meta tags that we've added? And what about if we don't want this here? Or what about if we wanted this in a different place? How does all this work? How have we chosen this particular formatting? And that's what I want to start to look at now. And that's one of the things I like about Blogger, is that you can really play around with the design, and we can actually do a lot of things. Again, I'm just going to emphasize the real basics for this particular course, but I'm going to start to show you how we can do that now. So I'm back on my main blog page here. I've got my blog here, and I'm going to click on this drop down menu, and I'm going to go to something called layout. This is really interesting because we can play around quite a lot with the layout of our blog. And you'll also notice that there are some things, for example, the blog is here, we've got the header here, and you'll notice on the right hand side here we've got an about me gadget, and we've got another one called blog archive. Now the blog archive I definitely want to keep, because that is where my blog posts are displayed in terms of the titles and on a monthly basis. But I don't want this one here called about me. It's added by default when we use the simple blog theme, and some themes have different gadgets or in different places, so I can just click on edit and I can get rid of that. So I'm going to remove it. I don't want to have that particular gadget on my page, but a gadget that I do want is one called labels, because we've got the meta tags that we've been adding, the labels that we've been adding to each of our blog posts, but we've got no way at the moment of allowing the users to click on those labels so that they can access any related articles. So I'm going to click on add a gadget. You'll see there's loads of gadgets we can add, and we'll come back and have a look at a few of these, and blog stats and search box. But one that we've got here, if I can find it, is called, let's just have a quick look, it's called labels, and I'm going to click on that, and I can change the title if I want to put something else. I can organize my labels alphabetically. I can organize them by frequency, and I think that's what they will do, so the more frequent ones will come higher up. We can do a cloud as well, so that also will mean that the more frequent the use of a particular meta tag, the more often than the larger it will be displayed. And we can even show a number of tags related to, or number of times that each tag has been used, and I'm going to choose that just to display it. So I'm going to click on save. So we've added this new label, and we're going to click on save arrangement just to make sure that that has been saved. And I'm now going to click on view blog, and hopefully we should see now that we've got labels, and there they are. And I can click, for example, on fluency, and it will show me all 3 blog posts that are related to that label. Or if I click on Vocaroo, it will show me just the 1 blog post that is related to that label. Or if I click on IC Tools, it will show me the 1 blog post related to that label, etc. Now obviously it keeps bringing up the same blog post because at the moment we've only got 3 blog posts, but that is absolutely crucial. And this means now that students can, or users can, navigate my blog through the labels that I'm creating, or through the titles of each blog post, which are organized by dates. Now let's look at a little bit more then at these gadgets, because these can really build up and make our blog look particularly interesting and really give it a nice look and feel. We can add gadgets. Now I'm going to add one more gadget to the side. I'm a real fan of adding my gadgets to the side. You can see that you can add gadgets in different places here, and you're just going to have to experiment and work with these gadgets, and you'll see that some of them we will need to add to the top of the page, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But I'm going to add another gadget, which is going to be, in this particular case, I'm going to have a gadget which gives me the blog stats, shows me how many people have visited my website or my blog. So I'm going to click on here. It's going to offer me various options, and I'm going to go for this one here, just a very simple format, which is just a number. This one here's got like a little graphic along with it as well, but I'm just going to put a little number there. Total page views, it can be the title. I can overwrite that, and I'm going to click on save. Now one of the things that I can do when I click on save and add that to my is that I can now decide, well, I'm going to have that underneath here. I want my labels first, because my labels are to do with actually finding the content. So those are really important. And I'm going to add one more label, which is a search engine. Always worth having a search engine. When you've got a very small blog like this, it's very unlikely that really the search engine is going to be of particular interest. But if you want to just click here, you can add a search box, and it will link and click on here. You've got various settings that you can use. I'm just sort of showing you some of the possibilities, so you can configure your search box. And we've now added a search box which allows users to actually search the blog, and again scroll down and click on save to actually add that. So now we've got 4. I'm going to click on save arrangements to make sure that's all been saved, and now we should notice, if we go to view blog, that we've got a search engine, and we've got labels, we've got an archive, and we've even got a total page views, and we've had 11 page views so far, and that really has been just me keep going back onto the web and looking. So you can see we're starting to produce quite an interesting blog. It's already starting to look a little bit more lively and nicely organized. One thing is, though, at the moment all it is a blog. We've got no additional pages, and one of the features of Blogger is that we can actually have pages where we have static information. The blog is the dynamic information that's being continually added to the blog, and your blog posts are being added to the blog, and you can of course search those. But you can have additional information, which might be, say, an about me page, or a list of publications that you've done. Obviously it depends if you're a class. If you're doing a class blog, it might be a list of your students, and it might be the curriculum or timetable of your classes. It might be a list of files that the students can download. There's all sorts of things that we could add into pages, and that's what we're going to start to look at now. Now, so far we have been looking at our blog, and we've got this lovely blog, and it's all sort of growing and coming together, and it's working pretty well. In fact, sorry, I'm showing you the older version now. We've done a new one now with the search engine and the stats. But we haven't got any pages, and as I said, we can add pages to the blog. So let's look at how we do that, and there's a couple of things about this. So first of all, we're going to come back to our blogs, and we're going to do what I always do, which is use this drop down menu here. So I'm looking at the teacher training videos blog. I'm going to click here and I'm going to come down to pages, and we can add as many pages. I think there might be a limit actually, but we can create pages for our blog. So I'm going to click on new page. Okay, so I'm going to add a new page, and this new page I'm going to call it About Me, because remember I took away the About Me gadget on the side and rather do a kind of About Me page. Okay, now just to save time, I'm going to quickly copy and paste some text from my own blog and just paste that in. So here I am on my own blog, and I'm going to copy this text here. Okay, and then I'm going to copy that now. One thing to remember is to paste that in using this remove formatting. Don't forget that, because here I'm, for example, copying something which is in HTML, so I'm going to click on that, and the first thing I'm going to do is select all of that and choose remove formatting, and it kind of comes down to the right size. Remember to now select that and give it the heading title. So this is now the About Me, and it's probably likely that you would add a picture or some video or something like that, and I'm going to publish that. So we've now added a page, and it's got a title and it's got some information. We're not going to do anything about this. We'll come back and look at this at a later stage anyway, but we're going to just publish that, and hopefully now we have got an extra page on our blog. Let's just have a look at our blog and see if that's worked, and click on the blog to open the blog up. Remember, we've just produced an extra page and there is nothing there, and that's why I was expecting, because even though we have produced a new page, we haven't actually produced here what we call a kind of menu system where the pages will be viewed, and because that is actually a gadget. If we want to have our pages, for example, here, or our pages listed here, we can have our pages listed in all sorts of places. Obviously the most obvious place, just like in a website, is to have them at the top. We now need to add the menu gadget or pages gadget to allow us to access those pages, and that's what I'm going to do in the next video. Now I'm going to point something out to you. When you're working with Blogger, you can, if you notice here, you can actually from here edit these gadgets. You don't really have to do what I'm doing, which is always go back to this page here. Let's just publish this a minute, and it's telling me there's an error because I haven't got any pages added yet, the actual page menu, as I've said. If I just click back here and come down to the layout, what we can do now, and we're going to do this at the top here, is that we're going to add a gadget, and the gadget that we're going to add is one that says, let's think it should be here, pages. Display a list of standalone pages on your blog, and I'm going to click on that, and it's going to ask me how I want it to look. So I'm going to have the home one, and I'm going to have the About Me. So home will be my blog, and About Me is this new one that I've added. I can do a bit of formatting in terms of design, etc. I'm just going to save that for now. Okay, so that's the name of that. Notice where that is now. Save that arrangement and see what happens now when we come back to the blog. If we now view the blog, magically we now have two buttons at the top. One takes me to the blog and one takes me to a page called About Me, and that really now is starting to look like a website almost, or a blog and a website. And of course we can produce as many pages as we want. So you make pages, but you also need to add the pages gadget to allow access to them. But what you're basically doing here is adding up a menu system. Now let's look what happens when we add an additional page, just to make that dead clear. So let's imagine we're going to have another page. We're going to go to the pages area now, and we're going to add a new page. So click on new page, and this page, again, you've got to give it a title. So I'm going to call this page My Latest Talks, for example. Of course, it could be a class, it could be a list of students or whatever. And I'm just going to imagine here that I'm just putting in some information about my latest talks. So just putting that there very quickly just to show you what happens. Going to publish that. So click on there, just going to publish that. And we've now got 2 pages created. And that is my latest talks and about me. Now let's view the blog. And you'll notice again that this has not been added. So again, we now need to come in, go to that pages one, and then add this one and say yes, we want to add the pages to this particular menu. Okay, so you have to keep doing that, I'm afraid. Now I do think, if I remember rightly, there is a kind of a default button that I can click on that automatically adds my pages without me having to remember to do it. Also note that you can drag these around and put them in a different order if you want to. You're most quite likely to put your home page first. That might not be the case. I might have got that wrong. That might be me confusing using WordPress and Blogger. Anyway, just keep that in mind, that you may find yourself adding new pages to your blog and those pages not being added to your menu at the top, and therefore you would just need to physically go in and do those. Now the problem with Blogger is it's just got so many things, and it's very difficult for me to know when to stop in terms of what would I consider to be an introductory course to Blogger. And if we come back here and now went back to the blog and we looked through this menu, you'll see that we've hardly touched anything. We've looked at posts, we've looked at pages, and we've looked a little bit at layout. Now I'm going to point out a couple of very important settings for you. First one I want to point out is this one here. If I click on settings here, and one thing you may want to do at some point is delete your blog, and if you want to do that, click on settings and then come down right to the bottom to other, and it says here delete blog or export blog, import blog. And just for this introductory set of courses, I'm just going to click on that. This is just going to introduce this one thing, and that is how you delete your blog. You click on that button there and you can delete your blog. So it's settings and all the way back down to the bottom and other, and you can delete your blog from there. Now I'm going to point out a couple of other really important settings just before I finish off this introductory course. Scroll down again, go to settings, and if you look on the basic ones, you've got a couple of really interesting settings here. First of all, you can add a description, and that description will be searched by Google, so it's a really good idea to have a nice description of what your blog is about. Now also you can I'll just leave that for now, cancel that. You can also look at your privacy settings and whether or not you want your blog accessible and findable on search engines, and particularly if you're working with a class of students, you may not want that to happen, so you may want to turn those off. Another thing that you might want to do, and this is really important, is that you may want to add authors. When you have more than one person with permission to work on a blog, it's almost becoming like a wiki, and you may decide that you, for example, want to organize your groups, classes into students into teams who create a blog together, or the students themselves may want to do that. Or you may give permission to certain students within the class to contribute to a class blog. There are all sorts of possibilities depending on whether you are producing the blog on your own, or whether you're going to produce a blog as a class blog, or whether you're going to do student blogs. But one thing that you can do is add an author. So if I click here and write the name of somebody in, what I need to do is to make sure that I add their name. And you can do this in sort of various ways. Now you can choose from contacts. Now because your blogger is linked to your Gmail account, if I was to click on this button, it would bring up the contacts in my Gmail account. If I want to add an invitation to an author, I'm going to add this one here, and that's me but on another email account. And I'm going to click on invite authors, and I'm actually going to invite this person to join the actual blog, and you'll see that there's an open invitation that's been sent to that particular person, so I can send an invitation to someone, and I'm going to show you what the result would be of that now. And the result is an email is sent to me and I can accept the invitation. However, if I don't have a Gmail account, I will need to sign up so that I can therefore contribute to the blog. So keep in mind, if you're going to have your students working in groups, they will need to have a Gmail account if you want them to, for example, have 2 or 3 people all working on a blog together, so it's almost like a wiki. Okay, that's everything for this introductory set of videos. If you're looking to do any more, then please go to teachertrainingvideos.com, click on blogs and wikis. You should see that there's some new ones going to be here. There's going to be introduction to Blogger. I think it's going to be Blogger and themes, advanced Blogger and intermediate Blogger. There's going to be lots of new ones. You can also search by just writing in the search engine here at the top of the page, and just look out, they will be added in the next couple of weeks. If they're not on there when you go on now to search, then just give it a couple of weeks and you'll see that they will be added. Hopefully that has got you up and running and using Blogger.